Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. Today we've got an article here we're going to read together and offer some comments. It's quite interesting and I'll explain after we get through it. So let's just go to it now. So you can see the title of the article here is Tether's $120 million Uruguay Bitcoin mining project collapsed over a power contract dispute, Reuters. So the quick take is that Tether's Bitcoin mining project in Uruguay, reportedly a first step to wider South American mining ambitions, collapsed after a contractual dispute between the stablecoin firm and the country's state-owned power utility, per a Reuters report. UTE cut power to Tether's mining sites in July 2025 after Tether's local representatives did not attend the signing of a revised contract and stopped paying its electricity bills. So let's repeat that key point here. UTE, which is the state-owned power utility, cut power to Tether's mining sites in July 2025, which was over a year ago, after Tether's local representatives did not attend the signing of a revised contract and stopped paying its electricity bills, according to an internal UTE briefing Reuters reviewed. One person with direct knowledge told Reuters the project cost around $120 million. Okay, so let's go into the article to get more details. Tether abandoned an estimated $120 million Bitcoin mining project in Uruguay, seen as a first step into the wider South American market following a contractual dispute between the stablecoin issuer and state-owned power utility UTE, according to a recent report from Reuters. Tether and UTE disagreed on how much power the two mining sites were entitled to under the contract. Tether thought an agreed-upon power supply figure was a minimum that could be increased in the future, while UTE thought the figure represented a hard cap, per the report. The two sites, located in Uruguay's Florida department, initially ran well and generated income, according to two former contractors. As the site's electricity demand increased, however, the operation sometimes lacked sufficient power for days at a time. Though both sides sought to resolve the dispute by signing a revised contract, Tether representatives reportedly did not show up to the signing, according to meeting notes obtained by Reuters. A former contractor and another source told Reuters that the dispute intensified after the election of the left-leaning government led by Yamandu Orsi, who took office in March 2025 and later appointed new directors of UTE. Per the sources, the new leadership took a harder line on the contract negotiations. Microfin, Tether's Uruguayan legal entity, stopped paying its electricity bills 2 months after the change in government. It told UTE in June that it intended to terminate its contracts. With the revised agreement unsigned and the bills unpaid, UTE cut power to the sites on July 25, 2025. Tether notified Uruguay's labor authorities on November 25th that it would end the operations and lay off most of its staff, Reuters reported. A source with knowledge of the deal estimated that Tether spent around $120 million on the project. The company never publicly disclosed the size of the investment. Tether did not respond to requests for comment from either Reuters or the block. A planned first step into South America. Tether's announcements of its Uruguay mining operation in May 2023 described the country as the perfect platform because of its renewable electricity generation and established grid. Reuters added that the country's political stability is attractive for foreign investors. A former contractor told Reuters that Tether viewed Uruguay as a first step and a testing ground before expanding into Brazil, Paraguay, and Argentina. At the time, Tether said it would soon expand its mining operations to other countries. In June 2025, CEO Paulo Ardoino told the Block's Big Brain podcast that the company would become the biggest Bitcoin miner out there by the end of the year. At the time, Tether said it had invested more than $2 billion in energy and mining infrastructure across 15 sites in Uruguay, Paraguay, and El Salvador. UTE disconnected the 2 Uruguay sites 1 month later. Tether has continued investing elsewhere in the region, acquiring a 70% stake in renewable energy producer Adeco Agro, and later signing an agreement to use the company's surplus electricity for Bitcoin mining. The company has also released an open source operating system for mining operations, taken an 8.2% stake in mining finance firm Ant Alpha, and begun developing modular mining systems with Canaan and Acme Swiss Tech. Tether's USDT has around $183 billion in circulation, continuing to lead the global stablecoin market. The firm, which is based in El Salvador and employs a few hundred people, also has an investment portfolio it values at about $20 billion, according to Reuters. Most of its more than 100 investments have not been publicly disclosed. Mining economics under pressure. Another element of the story is the rising challenge of mining Bitcoin in a way that's economically efficient given high electricity prices, relatively low Bitcoin prices, and the opportunity cost of not pivoting to high performance computing like AI training and inference instead. Crypto mining specialist Nicolas Ribeiro described the industry in the Reuters report as extremely dynamic, with operators frequently opening, closing, or relocating sites. Uruguay's reliable grid and internet infrastructure makes it more attractive for AI data centers than for Bitcoin mining, Ribeiro told Reuters. Mining depends more heavily on access to cheap electricity, and Uruguay's power costs remain comparatively high. Uruguay isn't viable for mining, Ribeiro said. So that is the end of the article. We've learned a few things here. We're going to add a few comments now. Because we've all learned a lot from this article. This, as you can see, is basically about a year of almost a year plus removed from the actual severance, or at least the breaking up of the relationship. So it seems that, as you can see here in the quick take up top, July of 2025, the state utility was cutting power to the sites. We'll get to the cost in a second. There was a misunderstanding, or at least a disagreement on how much the power the 2 sites were entitled. So it seems that there were 2 separate mining sites that Tether had. You can see it initially ran well, and it was generating some income. But guess what? Sufficient power for days at a time. The power would not be around for days at a time, so that's not really viable, especially for mining Bitcoin. And then you had a change in government, so it seems that the new people brought to the state utility at the top were being more hard-nosed negotiators on this big contract with Tether as a client to use the electricity. And you can see between July of 25 and November of last year that really everything started to wind down. You can see most of the staff would be removed, or at least let go. And then it seems that Tether has already spent $120 million on the project thus far. So we don't really know what's going to happen with the infrastructure. But of course, the company never publicly disclosed the size of the investment. And then it seems that back in 2023, there was an announcement that Tether was going to get into mining. And then the article seems to have interviewed a former contractor, and they Tether was intending to get into other parts of South America for mining specifically. But times have changed very fast. So even Paulo Ardoino, a little over a year ago, June of 25, said that the company was going to become the biggest Bitcoin miner out there. So maybe a little bit behind the times. The company Tether has spent more than $2 billion in energy and mining infrastructure across 15 sites in Uruguay, Paraguay, and El Salvador. So that means that a little over a year ago, when he was on the Block's Big Game podcast, that had already invested in June of 2025 more than $2 billion in these three South American countries. But then you can see in July 2025, 1 month after that interview, the state utility disconnected the two sites that Tether was operating. Now, what we can see, though, is that Tether is investing upstream, where you can see that they actually have acquired 70% stake in a renewable energy producer, Adeco Agro, and then Tether signed an agreement to use Adeco Agro's surplus electricity for Bitcoin mining. Again, Bitcoin mining, not anything else. So Tether has also released an open source operating system for mining operations. That's really just sort of software. And then they've also taken 8.2% stake in mining finance firm Ant Alpha. Okay, that's a interesting play from the investment side. So Tether's 8.2% shareholder. And then they are also looking to get involved with these shipping containers, these modular mining systems, Canaan and Acme Swisstech. So you can see that Tether has around 183 billion in circulation. So that may or may not be the valuation of Tether. They're headquartered in El Salvador, which is in Central America. And then it's noted here, its investment portfolio is valued around 20 billion, according to the firm itself. And it seems that they've done at least 100 investments, but most of them have not been disclosed to the public. This Uruguay investment has, or at least was, disclosed back in 2023. And then the final part of this article is the most revealing for trends, and it's basically saying that Bitcoin mining is kind of really old school, and it's not nearly as exciting as AI or other types of use of data centers or electricity or hardware or software. So Bitcoin mining is kind of passé. And then this person here, Nicholas Ribeiro, was being quite honest, saying that, of course, yeah, mining Bitcoin is dynamic. You've got operators opening, closing, relocating all the time. And then Uruguay's reliable grid, so they have a very reliable grid, and they have great internet infrastructure. It's attractive for AI data centers more than for Bitcoin mining. So mining depends on access to cheap electricity, and Uruguay's power costs are comparatively high. So Uruguay isn't viable for mining. So going to leave that there for now. Very interesting article, because we're learning about so many different things when it comes to stablecoins. But for those of us who enjoy USDT and like to learn about Tether, we learned a lot in this article. And unfortunately, not every investment's going to turn out the way you want. So managing money is also tough. If you have, as it seems here, again, it seems that they have 183 billion in circulation, but that doesn't necessarily mean that Tether itself as a company has a valuation of 183 billion. So this I'm not so sure, but 183 billion is in USDT circulating in the global marketplace, the global stablecoin market. Now, 20 billion is very much Tether's investment portfolio. So if you take more than 100 investments, that means that the average investment is going to be 200 million, okay? And this investment was 120 million, so this is actually a smaller size investment. So that means the average investment, mathematically speaking, is around 200 million for Tether, if they have roughly 100 investments spanning across 20 billion. Yeah, 20 billion in their portfolio. They have a 20 billion investment portfolio, 183 billion of USDT in circulation. So the company is diversifying, but this is just saying, look, there was a $120 million investment, and they couldn't come to terms with the state utility provider in Uruguay. And now maybe they just simply walked away from everything. All right, my friends, I've got to wrap this video up here. We've learned a lot. Wishing you all a great day. Thank you for visiting the cryptodeposit.org YouTube channel. And please come back and enjoy some more videos that we cover here on the channel related to legislation, regulation. This article covers how governments are interacting with stablecoin companies like USDT. It's a business case study in many ways, so it's very informative, and if you enjoyed it, you can share it with your friends, subscribe, all that good stuff, and take good care for now, and see you on another video soon, again here on the cryptodeposit.org YouTube channel. Have a good day, everybody.